Good morning, everyone. And oh my goodness, isn't it fun to be intentionally living? John Maxwell wrote a book about that. In fact, he's written somewhere around 100 books. And someone asked him, "What's your favorite book?" And he says, "Intentional Living." And he says, "What do you think would be the most value to all the people?" And he said that. And disappointed that's not the top selling book that he has, but that's a wonderful idea when you think about that, is that rather than in the book Outwitting the Devil, one of the big things that talks about is that most people are just drifting along. And I think in terms of work and stuff like that, a lot of the words that a lot of people use is don't work too hard or take it easy or how long have you been here? Too long. And it's wonderful to just be on fire about something and know where you're going. And that's the thing I'm really grateful for is Avini's giving me some extra purpose. It's wonderful to do really well and perform and just love what you're doing. And a lot of people are going along with you. But it's also frustrating the contrast when you get stuck. And I've been stuck for a few years. And as far as me personally, I'm very thankful for being anxiously engaged in a worthy cause, something that where we can do something. And I think one of the fundamental things is when you think about what is my purpose? What do I want to do with my life? One of the big things is to grow. Can we really be happy unless we feel like we're in the process of accomplishment? If you're watching a movie, it doesn't start off at the very beginning, riding off into the sunset, that you go through the struggle and the excitement and everything, and then finally you achieve. But I love this idea that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And so, what we have with Avini as a plan, along that line, Zig Ziglar said something that has just really stuck with me. And all the things he said, one of the famous things is if you help enough other people get what they want, then you'll automatically get what you want. And that's such a beautiful philosophy. But another thing that has really made me think, looking around the world, he says that he doesn't think there's such a thing as a lazy person. Well, isn't that an interesting thought? Because I know a lot of people, but what he says to really clarify that is he says they're only uninspired. And if you think about that, maybe there is somebody at work that's like that. I can't wait till Friday, or and just the classical, just working hard enough not to get fired and getting paid just enough not to quit, and this balance and not really a lot of satisfaction. But that same person, maybe deer hunting time, he's all excited, he's on fire, he's up at 4:30 in the morning getting everything ready and just all day long traipsing all over the hills and just energized because he's just passionate about that. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about this idea. If you can find something that just you can be absolutely on fire about, that's when you're really intentionally living and on purpose. And what I like about the Beanie is this idea where my best life is helping other people have their best life. And we have this all powered by product, and we have a strategy. And one of the things looking back at all the stuff that I've done, a real simple thing was an interview with H.L. Hunt, a self-made billionaire. And he was asked on television, he says, "What's the key to success?" And he says, "Decide what you want. Really decide." And then the next thing, he says, "Everything has a price." And one of the things Jim Rohn talks about is there's a price for accomplishment, but then there's a price for not accomplishing. And the pains of regret could be more hard and severe than the pains of the discipline. And so decide what you want, be willing to give up something. And along that line, I just got to throw in one more. Rudyard Kipling says, if you really want something and you don't get it, it's either you really didn't want it or you were trying to think of several other things at the same time that maybe weren't congruent, or you tried to bargain over the price. And so be willing to pay the price. And I think, is that a sacrifice? That's actually a bargain, giving something and getting something as a greater value. And the next thing is find somebody that's where you are. That's one of the most valuable things. Find somebody where you want to be and learn what they're doing, do the same thing. And day by day, that's what success is, just daily activity that puts you in the direction. Then you have that magic of compounding. The next thing is just go to work. My friend Reed Nelson, when we were launching a new company, I thought, I'm going to run as fast as I can. And then he made a comment. He says, I don't even need to sleep for 3 months. I'm just going to go all out massive action. AOMA, AOMA, all out massive action. He had a license plate with that. And what a wonderful thought. Have you ever ran as fast as you could? So often the excitement of whatever it is you're doing really isn't that much and you hold back. I would suggest that right now at this moment, just think, here is something worthy of my all. I wonder how much that is. And then just go for it. And okay, really decide you're going to do it. Find people to help you, guide you along, and then go to work. And then do it every day after day as much as you can. I love the idea of the extra mile. There's something magical if you think, okay, I've had a really good day. Yeah, okay. And then you think in your mind, I'm going to make one more phone call. I remember sometimes I'd be thinking, oh, it's 11 o'clock. It's boy. On the other hand, it's 11 o'clock. Who could I call and get away with? In fact, if I call them at 11, it must be really important to be there. And if I'm urgent and communicate that, possibly that might be the best time to call them. So that's a fun thought. So I made some notes and I actually put a link on the webinar chat with the link where you can go and get this. And so I'm just going to go through some of these ideas right here. But along that idea that this is one of my favorite ones by Charles Gibbons. He says, success is a recipe. Building a business is like making a cake. Follow the recipe exactly, and you will always produce the same predictable results. Repeat the processes and make it a habit. That sounds like repetition and reinforcement are the parents of skill. This idea that stuck in my mind is a lot of us are going through life and we're unconsciously incompetent. And a lot of times when you hang around people and be aware, all of a sudden you become consciously incompetent. And that's where we come along in an Avini a lot of times. And then the neat thing is as we study and learn and follow this, we become consciously competent. And then ultimately you do it and do it. So it's just memory, muscle memory, brain memory. And then you're unconsciously competent, which is more fun than being unconsciously incompetent, oblivious. It's fun to have an intentional life and teach other people to do the same. This is just a joyful business. Okay, so here's the thing. How do you build a big business? And this is one of the most wonderful ideas is most of us through work, a lot of the jobs I've had, is very linear, and that's our world experience. You go to work and you get paid. You go to work and you get paid, and it's just you work. Jim Rohn talks about profits are better than wages, where you can have some ownership. So you go to work and build equity. And that's the thing I love about Avini is right at first, like any business, you're putting more work in than you're getting income. I think a key to success is this idea of delayed gratification. And so what you got to do is just think, I see off in the distance, leaders, successful people are far range. They're looking off in the future where they're going to be, and they're doing the things that will take them there. And pretty soon in the Avini business, it's not just linear, go to work, get paid, go to work, get paid. Eventually, you recruit other people, build a team, and then it's go to work and then get paid. And that's powerful where you've actually created something that gains a life of its own and it becomes self-perpetuating and you hit this chain reaction and a critical mass. All of us have this opportunity. Mark my words. I'd like to go on record right now. Avini someday will be a billion-dollar company. And one of the most key factors of success is recognizing an idea before everyone else does. Get out there and hustle, become a part of that. And as it grows, your piece of that pie will grow bigger and bigger proportionally. And so when it's big, you're big too, because you had a chance to grow with that. And so here's an invitation to grow and bring along a lot of people with you. And so here's this idea here. A big business is simply a small business that did the right things. Start your business and do it as though it were the biggest business in the world. What do I have to do at the to build the very first one and then to replicate it faithfully over and over and over again? And that's the power of this business is you don't have to spend a big franchise thing or go off to school and study and learn. It's essentially as you go, you immediately you can get in and actually get your money right back by bringing a few other people in. So it's very little risk, small investment, and an enormous, just amazing return. And the whole thing is it's simple. We're powered by products that everybody needs. Nobody has them yet. They haven't even heard about them. And so we learn to share this very effectively with lots of people. And then the system is teaching those people to how to share it effectively. And so that's the next thing that we do. And so let me just read something right here. This business is what your mind and your heart make it. People want to be around happy people sell. Unhappy people do not sell. You will change your whole life through changing your attitude of mind. Thinking does make it so. What you focus on expands. Read good books, listen to good audio, surround yourself with good friends and associates. Be around people who are doing what you want to do, and they're going where you want to go. So I think that's one of the most amazing things is attitude. It's such an important thing. Is it everything? You got to go to work, and you don't want to just have a good attitude and positive and not doing anything. That's happy hope. That's delusional. But if you're actually got a good attitude and you're working toward that, of course, you're going to have an even happier attitude. But just think about that idea. Happy people sell. Unhappy people do not sell. So that is attractive. When I met my wife at a dance, I thought she's cute. But the thing that really attracted her to me was she just had this bright, sunny disposition. And to this day, I'm looking at her, oh, she's cute. And I'll tell you, I like me best when I'm around here. I've quoted Zig Ziglar a few times. I'm gonna quote one other thing. He talks about his wonderful wife, and he says, if she ever leaves, I'm going with her. Just some fun thoughts right there. Surround yourself with happy people, people that buoy you up, and that's one of the most wonderful things that you can do in Avini is become a coach of happiness and give people purpose and give them something to be happy about. And I think one of the most wonderful words is hope. When we meet people, a lot of them are desperate. Think about New Year's resolutions. Almost everyone, their resolution has something to do with health and wealth. And sometimes it's pretty desperate. And we can actually throw people a lifeline. We can give them hope and just good cheer. We've got something really fun. And so, how do we make this business work? One of the big things is don't be boring, be happy, be attractive, and just be interested. And that's one of the most important things. It's fun. It's important to be interesting and not boring, but it's also important to just be really interested in other people. I got to just share one of the most important books that you could ever read is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And of all the things that are in that book, one of the things that really hit me was Dale Carnegie, world famous and well into success and teaching lots of people, best-selling book, and being invited to social gatherings and stuff. And so he was invited to this social gathering, and he met this lady who did not know who he was apparently, and so she came up and talked to him, but he didn't talk about how great he was. He just asked her about herself, and she never got to find out just who this man was, but came back to him through several different people that what did you do with that lady, because she's telling everyone that you are the most brilliant conversationalist she's ever met. And pretty much you just all he did was ask her questions and was genuinely interested in that person. And I've over the years and years I've done this business, I've gone to a lot of conventions, lots of them, and a lot of that ultimately is the last destination where we're going there. We're on that plane, and there's a lot of other people going there. And I'm just looking at the aisles, seeing people just go, rah, 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 rah. I got to share one of my thoughts that Samson slew thousands of Philistines with the jawbone of an ass, and every day countless sales are lost by that same instrument. And they're just oblivious. They're just looking at that person and they're just thinking, oh, and they're not interested at all. And what I've found, what works really well is the Dale Carnegie idea. If you're on the plane and you have a seating companion, ask them about them. Just be really interested. But ultimately, what happens is pretty soon they'll say, what about you? Tell me about you. And a great, brilliant conversationalist talked about this idea that a lot of us are so self-interested that it might be the idea that, hey, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me? We don't want to be like that. So genuinely, really be interested in other people, not as a sales tactic, but learn to love people and be interested in them. And so one of the big keys of doing this is creating interest, creating conversations. And let's say you're visiting with somebody, after you get the name and all of those sorts of things, it just is a natural thing. So much of how we identify ourselves is our work. And so just it really comes up, what do you do? And one of the things I think is really important is when we talk about this is say something that would create interest. And so a lot of times what I'll say is, what do I do? I'll say, actually, I'm working with some really brilliant, wonderful people, and we're putting together a new business. And let me tell you, it was about 7 years ago that I had a very serious health crisis, and I was introduced to a scientist. He's actually a biochemist that's involved with research and development of pharmaceuticals and nutritional products. And over about 30 years, he's developed literally billions of dollars worth of products and solutions for other companies. And just about 3 years ago, he decided to go in business for himself and make his own formulations. And I'm helping him put that together. We've got some stuff we're bringing to market that is life-changing, transformational. I've never had so much fun. And we've got something everybody needs and nobody knows about it. So it really is at the right place at the right time. If they don't bite on something like that, I'm probably talking to the wrong person. And then at that point, they say, I'm interested in that. And I say, let me get your phone number and I'll text you some information. In fact, I've got an interview. The biochemist himself talks about that. He's actually a very interesting guy. He's written books. He's done taught classes in universities, and he's really good on the lecture thing. And so you'll really enjoy learning about this. And so that's a real common way that I'll visit with somebody. But get that down, something that really flows comfortably and easy, and then just do it and do it. How do I say that? Repetition and reinforcement. And so I'm just not even having to think about it because it's just part of me. It's inside me. I'm unconsciously competent. I'm able to do that. And anybody can do that. It's just telling the story because you've done it before, you lived that. But also you can tell that to other people. You can say, what do you do? I've got a friend who had a real serious health crisis years ago, and it helped him, and then just borrow that same thing. And you could pretty much take all of that same story, which I have all printed out, and you can do that. One of my other favorite ones is this idea that I learned when I first got into sales. I've been straight commission since 1978. And so I've done this a pretty long time. And one of the things I learned, and I think it's so profound, is people do business with people that they know and trust. And boy, if you could do that, if you can build rapport with somebody and you like them and they like you, that's the key. And then if you have something that they need, which could solve a problem that they have, and they like you and they'll listen to you, then they're likely to trust and take your recommendation, which could be what we have right here. And so in my mind, I'm just thinking, I'm looking for people who are looking for me. And I ought to start with the people who are already know me and like me. So if you're a nice guy and you've been around a while, you literally have enormous equity, people equity that you're sitting on. And so if you do it just in a relaxed way, just like you discovered a new pizza place that's absolutely amazing. We had the pleasure of being at Anne Louise Gittleman and her husband James for dinner last week. And of all things, they had pizza. And they talked about AJ's restaurant, which is just gourmet. And these guys are gourmet people. And they brought pizza. The same chef started a new pizza. The flour is imported from Italy, and it's just really amazing stuff. I'm a new customer there, and I'm going to recommend it. We do that, and then it's real easy and natural to find something that we are excited about and believe in, and it can be contagious. And that's what makes every business grow. If you're a plumber or an accountant or a dentist or whatever business you have, if you're brand new into the being an entrepreneur, you're a teenager and you're babysitting or mowing lawns. Well, you're a business and you love referrals, and that's what makes your business grow is do well, and people will share. And especially if you get good in business, then you're actually not passively hoping somebody recommends you, but you actually actively go out. And a lot of people, like a chiropractor or an accountant, they'll say, hey, if you refer somebody and they become my customer, I'll give you $50 or I'll give you a free whatever. And so we do that. And that's our whole business is built on that. so well. That's a major part of our income is referral marketing. It's essentially, we could call it different names. My favorite is just relationship marketing, a friend sharing with a friend, which is the most coveted, most powerful way to market product, is a friend recommending to a friend. And so stay in that realm. Experiment with AI and Facebook and stuff like that. But the easiest thing that's infinitely duplicatable is just calling a friend and teaching people to do that. And so for years, we've earned amazing amounts of money by just using a tool. Essentially, it started, my first experience all these years ago was making cassette tapes, later CDs and whatnot. And since I've been with Rick and his product, it's all digital, it's all online. So I can call people and tell them a little bit of what's going and get them curious enough to listen to a tool. And I don't have to mail a cassette tape or drop it by. I just click a link and text it to them. A moment later, they're watching it. And that just happens over and over. And if you actually think, I really believe in this stuff, I'm going to see how fast I can run. I'm going to make lots of calls. I'm going to do that every day. Here's a thought. What if you go through your list, and the average person knows a couple of hundred people. If I called you and said, hey, I want to make a fun thing with you. I'm going to give you $100 for every name that you can write down, but I don't want you to cheat, because I'm actually going to call these people and ask if they really do know you. And if they don't, you don't get anything. But if you do, and if I go down every list and everyone knows you, you get $100 per person. How many names could you write down? A whole lot. And the fun thing to think about is, if you're going to do Avini and you're going to stay in Avini and follow it through and talk to all these people, and over time and getting referrals, what will happen is they'll be worth more than $100 a name. If I look back over the years and years that I've done this, I have no idea how many people I've called, but it's a whole lot. But I've made a whole lot of money. And if I divide how much I've made with how many people I've called, I know it's more than $100 per person. And that's the yeses and the nos all together combined. So when somebody says, oh, no, thank you, just think in your mind, if you're thinking ultimately over a period of time, I'm just going to do it, you'll find a ratio and the numbers will work out. And it's actually the highest paid thing you'll ever do is, I believe, Avini, if you get in and stay in and just follow it through. It's just so amazing. Getting off track here. Okay, so let me share another one. This is one from Dave Neff, and he created an audio, and you can find that too. And it's called An Amazing Discovery. In fact, that's on audio and it's on video. An Amazing Discovery by Dave Neff. But he talks about, he'll call people and he says, I feel obligated. My conscience won't let me not talk to you about this. And he talks about, he's an unusual person. He's a Vietnam vet. He's got siblings that have gone through that and have had horrible toxins and stuff that have just ruined their body through different things. And he's lost several siblings to really bad stuff. But he's also seen something which was an amazing discovery that's helped people, including saving some of his other siblings. And he says, I just feel obligated to let you know about this, and I want you to listen to this. And then he shares that with them. And interestingly, he doesn't really talk about a product or anything specific. He just explains this amazing discovery, and it's quite compelling. So that would be a thing. I believe really the most important thing is what you're really excited and on fire about is that what will work. The one that works is the one that you're excited about and you'll use. But I want to stress, it really does matter what you say and what you use. I've heard from the stage over many years that, oh, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person and you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. But you can quickly demonstrate that yourself by thinking of a really good prospect and just saying, hey, I got this company and we got this stuff and you wouldn't want to get in this, would you? But if you do, I'll make a lot of money. That probably, I'm just demonstrating you can say the wrong stuff. You could blow it really bad. Okay, you could be extremely bad and you could be extremely good. Why not just actually figure out what you're going to say? Maybe learn from someone else that said that. It's really hard to be brilliant spontaneously. So have it down and get really good at it. And if you do it again and again, and I've sent people stuff and they say, I don't like scripts. If I got this and I said, here I go here. The reason I'm reaching out is I know that you're already interested in being healthy. And also you're a smart person. I just finished watching a short video by a biochemist, and I think that he is on a real scientific breakthrough, but I would like to know what you think. If I did that, well, that sounds like I'm reading something because I am. And maybe you've actually had somebody that's calling and it's like that, just real, it's just uncomfortable even listening to them. That's, yeah, you'd know that's a script. But if you actually repetition and reinforcement, so all of a sudden it's inside you and say, and call and say, hey, Bill, I need your help. Would you do me a personal favor? And they say, yeah, sure. What is it? And I said, I just listened to something and I want to get your opinion because I know you're a smart person. I know you're interested in health and stuff. And I think you'd want to know about this. I've got a link and it's a biochemist. If you touch this link, it'll start talking. And would you watch that and let me call you back tomorrow? And I'd just like to know what you think. If you can just say it comfortably, where it's your words, those words become your words. They're not going to think, is this canned? They won't know that. Pretty much everything I say, I've said it lots and lots of times. And so it's actually me. And that's what you want is a really good words that are part of you. You've done it so many times and you can actually practice. In fact, what I do a lot of times with a new person is as a coach, as somebody that wants somebody to succeed, if they've talked to a few people and it's not working, then I'm thinking, okay, I don't want them to blow their whole list out. And so what I'll do is I'll ask them, I'll say, let's play like I'm your friend, I'm your next contact. So call me and let's just go through this. And they'll call and they'll talk. And I quickly realize what's happening. And so I'll say, let's turn it around. I'm going to call you. You're my friend. I haven't told you about this yet. And then we'll do that back and forth a few times and get them comfortable doing that and then turn it loose. Because I just think, okay, if you're nice, if people like you, you say the right words to enough people, then it just becomes inevitable. The more you talk to people doing it really well, success becomes a certainty because there is a market for this. And really, typically, you could expect probably 3 out of 10. It isn't like everybody's going to get in this. I don't do that. What? If you're in baseball and you can get 3 out of 10, you can get rich. If you can get 3 out of 10 in Avini over time, you could get wealthy in this as well, especially teaching other people that same system. So we got this beautiful system and you just do it and do it over and over again. Now, the thing I love about this is not an experiment, specifically Vini and specifically Cell Defense. Cell Defender has been on the market in one form or another for 20 years. It's gone around the world. Millions of bottles have been sold. There's thousands of testimonies. And the most exciting thing is all these other companies. I personally, in those 7 years, have used it under 4 different labels. And so the thing that's really wonderful is now Avini, Rick is in the driver's seat. And so here's this company, as Neil talks about, and we all brag about, is here's a totally vertical company. Inside is the research biochemist with his own lab, the manufacturing, the distribution. Nobody touches our product but us. So the raw material comes in one door and the labeled packaged product goes out that same building. And so, wow, and it's debt free. All the products are proven in the marketplace. And Rick has already done billions of dollars in sales over 30 years. Neil has directed billion-dollar companies. There's people in our sales force that have had field forces of billions of dollars. And all of us have had a few rodeos before, and we're involved in the best products, the best comp plan, and we're at the right place at the right time. One of my favorite phrases, because I've experienced this myself, but Neil talks about have a good work ethic and work hard, growth environment. That's where we are right now. And we've already had a really amazing shakedown cruise, so to speak, been profitable from day one. But right now, I believe we're getting ready to hit national consciousness where people are just going to be awakened to this and it's going to start growing faster and start compounding. And that's when you get in this business right at first, it is actually linear. When you join, it's only you. I love to tell people that this is such an important and powerful business that the first, in one day, I doubled the size of my organization. I went from 1 to 2. I sponsored my first person. But what's really fun is first, it's all you doing the work. I'm sponsored person, but sometime you'll have this moment where you'll look on your Avini worksheet and on your website, and you'll say, oh, somebody else sponsored somebody. That is when your business is gaining a life of its own. And then it's really fun when you sponsored somebody, and all of a sudden you've got this chain reaction going, and your business is actually doing things beyond what you're doing. And that's the most wonderful feeling. You got to try it. And one of the things I want to talk about also is this idea is we're looking for leaders. We're in the leader building business. And when I first got involved in sales, one of my mentors just said, if you want to be successful, call me every day. And then actually, let's go and see people. And there was a movie, and it talked about this teacher, and all the kids came to class and says, I'm giving everybody an A. You're starting with an A. And if you want to get an A at the end of the class, all you have to do to keep your A is to do A work every day. Isn't that a powerful idea right there? And she would actually tell people, hey, listen up, write this down. This is going to be on the test. And so I actually tell people, I'd say, I want you to be one of my key people. I want you to be a leader. And so we're going to start you off assuming you're a leader. And so my test, and I want to give you the answers to my test to be the leadership test. Okay, the first question is, or answer is, call me every day. That's how I'll know you want to be a leader. The next is make a list of names and let's start talking to people. Give me names. And so I just do that over and over again. And so if I'm always calling them, they haven't got any names, and I just have to assume they're not a leader. But I just tell people, call me, be in there. And if they do that and they give me names, and that's the most powerful thing, is you've got so many names, but if you learn to get referrals from other people, then it just branches out there. And so one of the obvious things, the simplest thing is, do you know somebody? And I've actually got referrals from people who they themselves said, no, I'm not interested. And you could just say, do you know anybody that would be interested in this type of product or what we're doing? That works really well. You might be a little nervous and talk to a business person or somebody that's very successful and say, hey, I need your help. Would you do me a favor? I'm working with some really smart people. We're starting a company, and I know you're happy doing what you're doing, but do you know somebody that's ambitious and got a good personality that might be looking at an opportunity? And they might give you a name. In my mind, I'm always thinking, if I don't ask, the answer is always no. And so the worst thing that'll happen is I can't think of anybody. And day after day, you realize a no or a no thank you, it's not fatal. And that's the worst thing that'll happen. Actually, the worst thing can happen is you don't do anything, and later on somebody else talks to them and they get into something else, or they actually join Avini under someone else. So that's the worst thing that can happen. But think about that. Everything to gain, nothing lose, day by day. I want to just give another example, and I've done this before, and it's been a lot of fun. Is I'm talking to somebody, presenting this, and I'll say, what I just did, that's what I do day after day. So it's actually what we just did together. That's the job description. That's what I do. It's a lot of fun. And I believe you could be really good at that. I think we could have a lot of fun together. And in fact, let's just do a test drive. Let's do a road test. Okay, of all the people you know, if you were going to do this with me, who would be the person that you think would most likely be really good in this? And sometimes they'll hesitate. And I'll just say, hey, I know me asking a question, somebody's in your mind. If you're thinking about it, just say that name. And a lot of times they'll say it. And they'll say, how do you know them? What do they do right now? Tell me a little bit more about it. Get to know them a little bit. And I think, hey, do you think they're home right now? Hey, let's give them a call. Let's call them together. And so I call and say, hey, Mary, hey, this is Dave Johnson. I'm here with Julie. And if you got a minute, I want to share something with you. I think you're going to find interesting. Just a moment ago, I was talking and I says, hey, Mary, of all the people you know, if we were going to do something together as far as a business project, of all the people you know, who's just the nicest, smartest, best capable person that you know, who would that be? And she gave me her name. And I just thought you'd like to know that. One of the most wonderful things is to give somebody a compliment. That's a unique compliment. And if you did that, I'll bet they've never had that type of compliment before, and I'll bet they'll never forget it. So right there, you're ahead. And then you could just say, have no idea if you're even looking for something or if this is the right time in your life or whatever. But actually, it's not hypothetical. We are actually putting something together. And let me tell you a little bit about what it is. We're working with some really amazing people, and we're putting together a new company. In fact, let me tell you about the company. How I became aware of these people is I had a serious health crisis a few years ago, and I found a scientist who helped me. He gave me some solutions. His background, he's done billions of dollars in product development, both on the pharmaceutical side and on the nutritional side. And that's a 30-year track record. 3 years ago, he started his own company, and we're bringing to market some of his most amazing health solutions that I believe is going to change the whole world. I believe this is going to be really big. The big thing that everybody's talking about is what we could call the medical industrial complex. That's sucking up about 1/6 of the US economy. And we're spending all this money, and we're the sickest nation in the world. And I believe we have the answers. I really believe if we could offer these solutions to everyone, there would be no health crises. And so this redefines being at the right place at the right time. And boy, if you love people, if you got an ambitious bone in your body, we should talk. At least you want to know about this. And if you do stuff like that over and over again, man, it really is ultimately just a numbers game. If you got something really good, you express it to quality people, you're going to come up. And no matter who you are, if you do it, you get more confident. And so much of success is just confidence, being able to say the words with confidence. Confidence and charisma are very synonymous. And charisma is attractiveness. And to attract good people, you need to be attractive. If you act and look like a leader, you are a leader. If you're doing the things that a leader does, and if you're plugged into leaders, and that's why you got to do 3 ways, is then you learn the magic words. You're hearing them again and again, and you can make those your own. You do all this stuff again and again, and you just think, you know what? The products work. I've seen them work. I'm on some of these calls and I'm hearing these miracles. Surely there's a highly likelihood of the people I share it with that have problems, it'll help them as well. And I'm going to have this immense joy and satisfaction of helping people with their problems, of actually finding good people, and we're building a team together, and everybody's winning. And oh my goodness, and the best time to make a sale is right after you've made a sale. Best time to sponsor somebody is right after you sponsored somebody. And then you just do it again and again. And all of a sudden, what's the difference between a silver and a diamond? Okay, silvers, they need people too. They need customers and they need distributors. A diamond is just more customers and more distributors. So the difference between a silver and a diamond is simply time and effort and the skill of teaching other people to do that. And essentially, Kyle Helm calls it be a silver factory, create silvers. And if you create a few silvers, you'll create some golds. And then we'll be gold factories. And imagine down the road, we'll be diamond factories. And that's where we are. We are going to change the world. We need you to come in and, boy, think about of all the things you've ever done, what could be the greatest thing you could do? I just think in terms of your ability to help the most people with the most powerful things, Avini might just fit into the best thing you could ever do. This is my favorite thing I've ever done for work. And so we're on a mission and we invite you to join us. And why not play big? So run as fast as you can. Let's just go do this. In fact, here's just a thought, a couple of thoughts I want to finish up here. Okay. Group influence. This is from Sean Callaghy. It says group influence is the ability to transfer an idea from your mind, heart, and soul to more than one other person's mind, heart, and soul. Have them receive it, understand it, and act upon it due to energetic transference. Isn't that a cool idea? We want to learn about energetic transference. And so this is why we, with absolute certainty, proclaim that group influence is the greatest attainable superpower for a human being, and nothing else is even arguably close. Superpower, group influence, and that multiplying effect. You influence somebody who influences somebody, and all of a sudden, a few years from now, you could have had an impact on thousands of lives. Then it starts multiplying because each one of those people have the opportunity to influence thousands of lives. Couple of other things here. Always enter the conversation already happening in a customer's mind. The voice in your head becomes the voice in your mouth. The voice in your mouth becomes the voice in others' heads. That's Sam Cloud. Okay, another one. In order to understand something, you have to become aroused in some capacity. It's not enough to just present ideas. Viewers must be fascinated, almost enraptured by what they're watching. Jason Silva. Wow. And then just think of this. How many people are better off because you were here? Ultimately, isn't that a good question to ask yourself at the end of your life? Here's a way to really, a lot of people are going to be better off because of you. So here we are. Okay, one more. Hustle. This is a fun thing. I must do the most productive thing at every given moment. This is Paul J. Meyer. It says you activate opportunity by getting into action. Leave your life to chance, and chances are you won't like the way you live your life. Your only point of power is in the present moment. All of your power is to accomplishment. Let's one more time. All of your power to accomplish your ability to be effective, make decisions, to be happy, and to exert maximum personal control over your life lies only in each succession of the present moments. This is now, this is what we have, and how you use this moment. And I would say the most productive time in Avini is talking to a prospect. And let's do this. Get plugged in. Talk to active people in your business that are doing what you want to do. Get good books. Read them. Where are they? Oh, here we are. I think that won't work. The Ultimate Success Formula and Building an Empire. Those are a couple of really good ones. But oh my goodness, let's go do this. You can do this. Give me a holler. I'm excited.